You're listening to Themes and Memes, a different kind of movie review. My name is Aaron. I'm your host, and here with me is my co-host, Adam. How you doing there, Adam?
I'm good, Aaron. And somewhat perplexed, somewhat excited, but very, very intrigued about what we're going to be talking about today.
Indeed. And again, just like last time, we're not doing a movie review. This is another special show. It's a follow-up to our previous show, which was Truth or Trump, and it was an 2016 anti-establishment election year special. Well, the election year is still going. It isn't over yet, but the election is over. The results are in, and they're stunning, to say the least.
Yeah, stunning.
Shocking.
I think you know, we expressed some of our guesses and predictions in the previous talk, and we went back and forth, and I think it's safe to say that we're both somewhat divided on what was going to happen, but I don't think either of us had any inkling that things would turn out as they have with this landslide victory for Trump. I mean,
no way.
It wasn't even close.
Mm-mm.
You know, that's incredible.
It is amazing. And the media at large, certainly the mainstream media, was calling this for Hillary and has been for a long time. And just the effect of that, I have to say, it worked on me, in that I thought that would be the case. And I mean, even from the beginning with Donald Trump, I didn't think he was going to make it past the primaries. I thought he was just too wacky to keep going. I just continued to be amazed that, like, he's still in this, and he became the nominee. I'm like, what? And then even when he was a nominee, I'm like, well, he can't win, but he did. So proves me wrong in being able to tell what's going to happen in that regard.
Well, I can see where you're coming from, because I mean, I went back and forth on this. I mean, the way I would best describe my opinion before the election was that my head was saying Hillary would win, because that was the message that was being given. You know, you would look at the whole scenario and say, well, it's impossible for this cowboy to actually pull it off, and you know, Democratic establishment have got such a hold on the political system and on the voters that, you know, there's no way that he can. Yeah, I mean.
It just didn't make sense.
No, it didn't make sense. It was a bit
he's the outsider. Sure, it's the anti-establishment election year, but he's too crazy to win in this game of the presidential election. It's always somebody who, like, can appeal to the masses.
Yeah.
But that raises a whole new question. What appeals to the masses these days, I suppose?
Well, that is the big reveal, and that's what we're going to be talking about. And I guess what I was going to say was that, you know, logically, intellectually, I would have expected a Hillary win, but my gut was saying Trump. And I felt somewhat silly in wanting to talk about that or admit to it, because, you know, it seemed irrational to say something like that. But I'll say I really, on a gut level, subconsciously, in the back of my mind somewhere, I was thinking, you know what, I can see Trump pulling this off somehow. You know, the name Trump is interesting enough. You know, the guy that trumped it all.
Yeah, the Trump card played, was it not?
Absolutely.
I mean, that's what Trump is. The major trumps in the tarot and in the lesser playing cards, they trump the other lower cards, and their meanings, their power overrides that of the other cards. And so the game changes when the Trump card is played, is it not?
Yeah.
And along those lines, I don't know, is Trump the zero card, the fool? I mean, we like to talk about that card so often. I don't know if that's very relevant here or not, but I mean, he's Trump. Yeah. Plain and simple.
Time will tell. But, I mean, I guess I should have really known, because when he won the, what do you call it again, the GOP, you know, the Republican nomination.
Yeah.
The name Trump, you know, again, it's a symbolic language, you know, and that stood out to me at the time. You know, my first thought was, Trump. Okay, Trump. That word has got currency. What is the Trump card? The Trump card trumps all. You know, it overcomes. Mm-hmm. And is this what we're looking at here? We're looking at some outsider who's going to come in, some maverick cowboy from the fringes, and you know, pull off the upset. And that's exactly what has happened. So
yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, the name has always been an odd one for me. For as long as he's been a celebrity, it's a long time. It's like, oh, Trump, that's quite a crazy name, is it not?
Well, it used to be Trump.
Yeah.
It used to be Trump with an F, and he changed it.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah, that's right.
That was his father's name?
It was his father's name. In fact, you know what? Let me just double check that, because I believe that to be the case.
Okay, sure.
But maybe I'm wrong, because I haven't looked it up in a while. Let's have a look here.
Yeah.
Doesn't say here on Wikipedia whether it's changed, but I did read this a while ago somewhere that it was Trumf. That was the actual birth name, I believe.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. Well, that gets changed a lot here in America. That's the typical thing you do is you immigrate from any given country, and you just kind of change the name you have if you're able to anglicize it and fit in here.
Well, I think it may also have something to do with the fact that he was in the into casinos and gambling.
Oh, yeah.
So
I
the
thought
Trump
that
card,
too, the gambling. Yep.
Yeah, that would fit with, his
Atlantic
his
City.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? I'll say this about Trump. When he finally came out last night on the stage to do his acceptance speech, when you first saw me, he was coming out on stage, he had this face. And it was a face that I had not seen on Donald Trump the entire election. I don't remember him ever having this face, ever.
Yes.
He had this look on his face. I don't know exactly what emotion was going through him that made him make this face. But to me, it looked like he was worried. If I had to guess, my best guess is that he was worried about what had actually just happened. It was either that, or he was either just so emotional about what had just happened and like, wow, this actually, and he was legitimately like kind of like excited and inspired and in awe of what he did. It was either that or he was worried. I can't quite tell.
I definitely picked up on that because I watched it as it was coming in live last night, and he walked up on stage and we saw this facial expression, these inflections, this tone of voice, which was very different to what we're used to. And
very different. Yeah.
Usually he's this guy who was he's cavalier. He's got this kind of maverick personality. He's relaxed.
He's macho.
He's macho. He's got the swagger. He's got the swagger.
Oh yeah.
And this guy came on with a very sober, somber, serious face and very, very, sober tone of voice.
And humble
as well.
There was some humility there. I didn't know that was even possible for him.
Yeah,
but he appeared to be, and it appeared to be legitimate. Even more than being humble, it appeared to be legitimate, which is more than I can say for. I don't think Hillary Clinton does have that in her. Uh-uh. So he's got that going for her. He seems to be able to have emotion at least. I think that. If I were to guess, I'd say he was worried about what he actually has to do now.
Yeah.
That
makes
seems
sense.
to be the case.
That would make sense. It's like, whoa, shit, I actually got what I asked for here. Now time to put my game face on,
Yeah, exactly. I still don't think he really expected to win.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I mean, he was talking about winning, and he said he wanted to. That's fine. But did he really expect this to happen the whole time? I don't know. And as we were saying before, I mean, my prediction or my idea was that he didn't really want to win. He would have rather just build up, the Trump TV empire and just sort of use the whole current of his political support base to prop up whatever sort of business ventures he'd come up with next to sell to them and to kind of like use them, exploit the audience for whatever reason it would have been. But now he's president, and he's got to figure out a way to keep the heat off of himself.
Yeah.
Because if he's truly this anti-establishment maverick guy, there's going to be a lot of establishment people gunning for him to take him down in all sorts of different ways, and he's got to be ready for that.
Well, perhaps that was his. That was the concern that we saw. Was him thinking, right? Well, I've entered the big leagues now. I've got to start being careful about what I say. And notice that he gave a very sportsmanly, sort of
very conservative.
Yeah. When I say sportsmanly, I mean the giving thanks to Hillary, saying, "Oh, we've got to respect her. She a really hard fought campaign. She served this country for many years." I mean, I half expected him initially to just walk up to the microphone and go, "Hillary, you're fired," but he didn't do it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I was expecting. That's the Donald Trump that we've come to know. But he was so professional all of a sudden. I'm thinking, well, he knows he's in the big leagues now. He knows that he's actually gotten what he wanted, ostensibly, and he's got to put his game face on. He's got to go in there
yeah, I wonder what was said in that phone call between Hillary and him. You know what I mean? It's a private phone call. We're not going to know, but I can only imagine what Hillary Clinton would say to you on the phone after you just defeated her in this presidential election. I can't imagine it was too very nice. And if it was nice, it was the fake kind of nice with probably veiled threats laced into the conversation. You know what I mean? And that's pure speculation because we just don't know. But I mean, if you got a sort of threatening phone call from Hillary, yeah, he'd be making a face, right? Because he knows that she's someone that can make things happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, that was some of the concern that we saw on his face was him having spoken to Hillary on the phone and maybe interpreted some of what she said as threatening in some way. Who knows? It's, again, speculation.
Yeah, again, pure speculation. We don't know this stuff.
We're
trying to figure it out.
I mean, I think she was genuinely upset that she didn't win. I mean, we saw her facial expressions when she finally did come out this morning and officially concede to the public and wish him well and say that we've got to heal the wounds of division and come together and give him a chance and all this type of stuff. But yeah,
it was anybody who didn't take pleasure in seeing that ridiculous and disgusting celebration venue that Hillary had rented in New York City there, seeing that just all the people in there just waiting and then leaving and just that ridiculous setup put to waste. If you didn't derive any enjoyment from that, then I feel sorry for you because I sure did. I enjoyed that very much, I got to say.
Yeah, I think everybody got some satisfaction out of the whole thing unfolding. I mean, especially the fact that the mainstream media, especially places like the New York Times and CNN and all these places, as soon as the polls opened up, they were calling it, almost like a landslide for Hillary.
Yeah. I woke up in the morning, turned on the silly day show that's on a major network, and the goofballs that sit around sipping their coffee with their veneered smiles glaring in your eyes, they were all saying, "Oh yeah, basically why even bother having the election? We know Hillary won." I mean, that's more or less what they were saying, and not so many words. It's really, you're going this far already? Just Hillary has it. And as the day went on, the smiles faded slowly but surely. That was amusing to watch. I mean, it was pure entertainment.
Yeah, well,
without a doubt.
It's been a very entertaining election, and this was the grand finale. I mean, again, to see these media outlets saying that, our projections are that Clinton's got 85, 90% chance of winning the election. And then within a couple of hours, it was, Donald Trump's got a 95% chance of winning, I mean, and of course, Hillary's, what did she call them? The basket of deplorables that support Trump.
The basket of deplorables. That's what the Easter Bunny brings all the bad kids. Like Santa fills your stocking with coal. Well, the Easter Bunny brings you a basket of deplorables. That's what I think. That's what it sounds like to me, at least. I don't know.
But for her to say that, she addresses Alex Jones. She addresses the alt-right. She's they're all racist, Nazi, bigot, homophobes, and whatnot. And then the majority.
Alex Jones mentioned by name.
Yep. We should talk about that.
From Hillary and Obama.
Yep.
Within the same week.
Yeah.
That was amazing. That throws up a red flag, doesn't it?
It does. And let's talk about that, shall we? Let's talk about the idea of this election not being fixed in so many words. So I don't want to use that term, but the prospect of somebody in the higher echelons of the establishment wanting Donald Trump to win. And I don't think we're talking about the Democrats here. I don't think we're talking about that level of government. I'm talking about somebody higher because, let's look at what's happened here. The media is pushing Democrats. They're pushing Clinton all the way. Clinton is addressing the alt-right and, all of the Trump supporters as being a basket of deplorables. So she's alienating them, whilst at the same time she's letting them know where they can get more information and, about their
she's
what the
bringing
support
attention
base is.
to them. That's for sure.
And so she's calling them out whilst they are saying that she is corrupt. And what happens? What happens next? Well, in the few weeks leading up to the election, the very people that the establishment, so Obama, Hillary, and the Democratic supporters have been calling corrupt nutheads, nutcase, conspiracy theorist, racist, whatever, now get proven right. So all of a sudden, the FBI comes out. They start. They reopen this investigation. Just what was it, a week before the election?
Yeah. That FBI thing was odd.
And
right?
It went nowhere. It went nowhere.
Yeah.
Nothing happened. I mean, they simply announced it on the public stage that they were reopening this investigation into the emails. They didn't say why.
Yeah.
There was no mention of, there was no real credible mention of why these investigations needed to be reopened. It was some tangential story about one of her aides being involved in some questionable sexual conduct outside of work. I'm not sure what the details were there, but it was something like that. And then it was closed. And there was no information given as to what they had investigated, what they had found. They simply said that there's nothing criminal here, and there's nothing further to look forward to look into.
That was right. That was like literally, I think, the week before the election. That was like right before.
This happened when we were recording our last podcast, and that was a week before the election, a week ago.
Yeah.
And so we have all that unfolding, and then Wikileaks continues their dumps on the Clinton Foundation. Anonymous releases a video on Bill Clinton. Then we have WikiLeaks doing another dump just before the election. I think it was the day before the election on this whole spirit cooking fiasco. So this occult practice involving they get blood and semen and breast milk and all that, and they cook it up in the kitchen to feed the spirits. And John Podesta, her campaign manager, has been implicated in this. And I mean, what is that but a validation of what the conspiracy alternative media have been saying for years, and that the elite are involved in these occult rituals? So. What I'm saying here is that whilst the Democratic establishment has been pointing the finger at Trump supporters and the alternative media as being a basket of deplorables, don't listen to them, we're going to win, blah, 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 they then go, these organizations like WikiLeaks and the FBI then come out and literally validate everything that the Trump supporters have been saying. So what's happening there?
So anybody who may have been on the fence whatsoever is going and thinking, they're like, yep, those conspiracy theories that I've been hearing about on YouTube for all these years are true. Now's my chance to get the anti-establishment candidate that the people who told me about these conspiracy theories are pushing. So, I better do it. I don't want these Illuminati Satanist witches to be in control of my country.
No, and it was picture perfect. It was picture perfect. It was the day before the election. The final proof came in. Yes, they are occultists.
Yeah, and it was the occult thing, no less. At the very end, they pulled out the occult card.
Yeah,
that's pretty weird to say the least, but fitting.
Yeah,
very fitting.
It's interesting because both the alt media mainly has been reasonably suspicious of WikiLeaks for a long time, and for good reason. Basically saying that this is like an establishment targeted leaks project, essentially. That they are. That they're letting certain things out and directing them towards certain people to push political agendas. These are attacks, these are red herrings, diplomatic gossip, that kind of thing. And rightly so, because a lot of it has been on that level. And then all of a sudden,
now it suits them.
Now that it suits them.
Narrative.
Yeah.
So Assange is the great hero now. Alex Jones is going off on his 52-hour broadcast, and he's asking a question, well, who deserves the most credit, Matt Drudge or Assange, Julian Assange for his victory? So obviously he's praising him along with everybody else. And the alt media just picks and chooses, and whatever suits their narrative, again, because it's all about these narratives, whatever suits them at the moment, well, that's what they go with. They don't care what they said a week or so ago or whatever. Just whatever suits them at any given time.
Well, this is what they do. They've always done this. I mean, they if somebody says something that the old media proves to be, untruthful or whatever, false, then they call it out. But then that person says something that the old media agrees with a couple of weeks later, and they're like, see, So
I'm very interested to see what the alt media does as Trump takes the presidency and as he becomes the establishment. Where will they go? I have no clue where they're going to take their narrative. Yeah. But I do know that they're continuing to antagonize the other side of the political aisle, even in their victory. Their guy won, Trump is in. Instead of just celebrating and leaving the left to just kind of sit there and cry about it, they have to sit there and continue antagonizing him. And like, look at them in the streets. They're a bunch of communist filth bags. Yeah. And again, Jones was like playing live footage and he's saying, look at that guy over there. He looks so stupid. And he's like throwing these childish insults at protesters that look no different than protesters at 9/11 Truth Rally. They're just people protesting a different issue. You know what I mean? But he's throwing these. I'm done. Yeah, your turn to talk. I'm done with this.
I know what you're saying though, because I saw those. I was watching that as well, and I get the frustration because a lot of these. They were talking about these mostly kids on college campuses who are social justice warriors.
It's kids. It's kids. There. Yeah. Of course they're going to do this. They're kids. They don't know better.
Exactly. And it's like, this is it. It's like, they're saying a lot of really stupid, uninformed stuff. But, aren't we supposed to be the bigger party here? Aren't we supposed to be the righteous party? Are we not supposed to be a bit more mature than that? And so Alex Jones is sending his reporters out to mock these people and deride them and ridicule them and say that they're crybabies and all this type of stuff. And it's like, well, yeah, that may be true. But do you think this is constructive? You've had your victory. Do you have to now mock your opponent as he's lying on the floor bleeding?
Yeah. And this is, to me, this is the number one issue. It has been through the whole election. It will continue to be so. This is this battle of the American people and between each other and the people of the world, really. I mean, and again, it comes down to like the kind of right versus left political dialectic and how political extremism is thriving on both sides of that conversation, how we seem to be being pushed toward these extremist views because the extremist views are the ones that get us fighting with each other the most.
Yeah. I mean, these people that the sort of the hard left, again, mostly coming out of college campuses, they're annoying and they say ridiculous, stupid things. But you got to take a step back and say that. I mean, I love the way that Joe Rogan addresses this, and then he says that you can't be angered because these people are white belts in life. If you're a black belt, you don't walk into the dojo and start hammering on a white belt. You know what I mean? It's bad sportsmanship. It's against the art. It's what I mean? It's just bullying.
Yeah, it's everything. It proves nothing.
It proves nothing.
Yeah, you've been doing it for so long. Of course. That's obvious. That's going to happen.
These kids are These kids are 19, 20. I mean, I was very much like that when I was that age. I was very much into the social justice narrative, and it was all about the social reconstructionist idea and fighting, the battle of the oppressed and looking for victims everywhere and wanting to overturn any, the conventional, traditional social institutions of Western society, all that kind of stuff. And this is just part of being young, a lot of it. I mean, it's concerning as well, though, because this is coming out of universities. I mean, this is the future of your intellectual culture, and that is very concerning. But again, you don't go in there and just mock them and call them crybabies and put them down. It's not going to do any good. You're not going to convince them that you're right by doing that,
Yeah. And there's a lot of tough talk from Trump along the campaign trail aimed at these, protesters, basically the left protesters that are protesting him and everything that he came to symbolize to them. And he said lots of terrible things, lots of fascist remarks where he said, if I become president, these people won't be at our rallies. Believe me. And he's insinuating that he'd, have jackboot thugs drag him out and, take him away to some kangaroo court or whatever, or something worse. He was insinuating that. And that, I mean, I don't know how serious Donald Trump was about that. I hope to God that it was just another one of, those things he said. But, if Alex Jones and the alt-right and all the supporters of Trump continuing just like this, continue pushing the narrative that, the social justice warriors on the left are the real problem, and they keep attacking them viciously, and their guy is in power, well, I could certainly see a situation where they're calling for Trump and his administration to crack down on all these horrible ruffians out here ruining society and all these scofflaws running about, causing riots everywhere.
Yeah. And
sick the police on them.
And they'll probably have good reason, because these people are being given their narrative and getting prompted and provoked by their own cultural leaders. And that's part of the problem. You don't go for this is the thing with these movements, the left and the right, the extreme versions, ends of the left and the right, is that, most of the supporters are made up of, generally, quite confused people who are not that politically savvy, or are not really educated, at least not in life, but they are being led by cynical, opportunistic journalists, who have very, very insidious political agendas, on both sides. And if you're going to go after anybody, you go after these people, not after the little kids who are just following along because they think they're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
But this is it. These leaders, on both sides, are going to be the ones who are going to be prompting conflict.
They're the ones to look at and see what they're saying, what their rhetoric is, and they're the ones that we need to be criticizing for sure. I mean, there's a real danger here for it's the left's turn to be the angry, irate, anti-establishment. Now that the Republicans, there's not only the Republican executive administration, but throughout the House and the Senate, it's Republican now. So the whole board has turned red.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's not going to make the left happy, and it's going to promote extremist actions. All of those people who are there's going to be a lot of opportunity to fan the flames of the revolutionary spirit in the left-leaning crowd and cause real ruckus in the streets, and the demand on the right side to restore order in the face of all this unruliness. And this is what we've been seeing all up until this point for quite some time now with all this race politics stuff and the Black Lives Matter versus the conservatives or whatever it is, it's a disturbing thing, and I want to see it go away, but I get the feeling it's not going to.
No, I don't think it's going to go away. And again, because we had a liberal establishment in power, so Obama and the Democrats, and for the last 8 years, the right wing got to feel like they were the ones who were the outsiders. They were the anti-establishment. They were the revolutionaries fighting the good fight, taking it to the man, blah, blah, blah. And they were looking at the left and saying, well, what are you guys complaining about? Your people are in. The people, all the values that you aspire to and that you seek to institute throughout society are being, this is being done. Obama's doing the things that you want done in society. So what have you got to complain about? And now they will actually have something to complain about. But it reminds me of the Ministry of Defense Strategic Trends document that we have talked about so many times in the past. They talk about this. They talk about the revival of, populism and Marxism. This would represent one of the biggest social, and political trends, in terms of reactionary uprisings and revolts and stuff like that over the past, 20, 30 years. I mean, I'm just looking at it now, and they say here, what page is this? On page 80. Of the first one that they put out in 2007, projecting out to 2036, they talk about the middle class proletariat. And they say that the middle classes could become a revolutionary class, taking the role envisaged for the proletariat by Marx. The globalization of labor markets and reducing levels of national welfare provision and employment could reduce people's attachment to particular states. The growing gap between themselves and a small number of highly visible super-rich individuals might fuel disillusion with meritocracy, while the growing urban underclasses are likely to pose an increasing threat to social order and stability as the burden of acquired debt and the failure of pension provision begins to bite. Faced by these twin challenges, the world's middle classes might unite, using access to knowledge, resources, and skills to shape the transnational processes in their own class interest. And they make a few mentions of sort of a neo-Marxist uprising or popular socialist narratives and movements for different various reasons.
They specifically cite the Marxist leftist ones, not the right-wing, more fascist ones, right?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, there are other papers which talk about the far right, but they talk about them in much smaller terms, and these people are like fringe groups on the outside, nutcases, lunatics that don't really pose a real threat to anybody. I mean, I've got a few papers which mention the sort of anti-Semitic, right-wing groups and stuff like that. But again, when we're talking about the intelligence and military projections, there's basically no mention of right-wing at all. It's just talking about Marxists and socialists. So, I mean the stage is set where that definitely is. If anybody is going to rise up and be angry politically, it will be the charged up radical left at this point. So that's the way that everything's been set at the moment. And it's odd, but it's disturbing when you read those documents and when they talk about the time frames involved and how we are within that time frame now, and things appear to be. The stage appears to be set for those things to actually happen. Yeah, it's not good. No, it's not good. We're looking at it right now. I mean, again, this is coming out of the academic institutions. And so what they're doing there is inculcating a value system, which we will see, continue into the future. And this is only going to grow. And I mean, I guess that's debatable to a degree, though, because, again, a lot of the most radical within these demographics are young, so the young people, late teens, early 20s. They're in university, so they're involved in intellectual and social discussion all day, every day. Talking about these issues, and I guess for that reason, I can envisage them being more likely to do something like this because. I mean, this is probably overly generalized, but one comment that Alex Jones kept on making when he was making fun of these people was that why the alt-right and like the conservatives and the alt media are not acting this way. It's because they're actually working. They got jobs and they just don't behave like that. Sure. And that's highly generalized and stereotyped and probably a little bit unfair, but there's kind of a little bit of truth to that. When we talk about the people who are making the most noise, it's the people who've got the time and the energy to make the most noise. So it stands to reason that the university college campuses are going to be the places where this is going to be born out of, so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this situation is going to, I think, I mean, there's opportunity. The upside is the opportunity is there for us as astute observers to really see what everybody's made of at this point. Up until this point, Alex Jones and company have remained on the fringes and have been the anti-establishment, and they've promoted many a presidential candidate before, but now their guy is in, and he has become the establishment. So all of their ideas have the chance to go mainstream now, and in the face of that, what will they do? You know what I mean? This is their time to prove themselves, and this, I think this is a great thing, and totally, I never saw this coming because I thought they were going to remain the outsiders. but this is a question too. Will they remain the outsiders? Will they demand to remain the outsiders? And how will that shape up?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Because one thing that you mentioned in the last podcast we did on this was that the alt media has now gone mainstream. They've achieved their goals. The whole general public, the whole nation's going anti-establishment. And at the time, I was kind of like, yeah, I can kind of see that, but I maybe wasn't as convinced as you. But now, when I watching the InfoWars election coverage last night and today, it was just like, wow, they really have gone mainstream. This is really happening. This is it. I mean, I think Alex Jones was saying that he had something in the realm of 25 to 30 million people watching his live stream. Mm-hmm. And that could be completely false, but he did say that. I mean, that's incredible. That's massive.
Crazy. That's crazy.
That is a huge jump from whatever whatever audience he had a few years ago, or even probably a year or two ago. And so when I look at some of the alt media sites this morning, they're all thanking each other, they're all referencing each other, they're all saying, we've all done this together, this has been a group effort, I want to say thanks to blah, 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 and blah, 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 and we're all in this together, and I mean, they have come mainstream.
Well, there you go. That could be the new establishment building themselves up and like, okay, we're in there now. Let's do our thing. Is that what they're going to do? And if they do just go along with this, as it makes sense that they should, and just be like, okay, this is our thing. Let's start go about ordering the country. Yeah. Well, how will that pan out?
Yeah.
Will these people bring this wonderful spirit of 1776 back? Will they restore the republic, or will they put the ring on just like everybody else in Lord of the Rings, and will the lust for power just destroy them as it does everybody else? I would say that they're prime targets for that to happen too. So I would be very surprised if it didn't.
Yeah, well, it's like the old saying goes, king for a day, fool for a lifetime, and
I'm laughing, but
well, you got to laugh. You go mad if you don't laugh. But I thought about this a lot today. Is the alt media, the alt right, Alex Jones, Red Ice, all of these people, Milo Yiannopoulos, are they now going to become the vanguard of conservative media? Because their argument before was, the conservative media that exists today is not really conservative. It's cuck-servative.
Yes.
That's what it is.
Yes,
it's not legitimate. They're placating. They're taking orders from the left. It's all political point scoring and bullshit. There's no real conservative values there anymore. Are they now going to take over that role? Are they, is Alex Jones going to become the new Fox News? You know, I mean, and is Trump TV going to go forward and be, it'll be Alex Jones, Prison Planet Network, InfoWars, whatever. And what it will be the establishment network. It'll just be the cheerleading arm for the Trump administration. Yeah. I don't know. It's possible.
Or will they actually put Trump's feet to the fire and call him out for having Rudy Giuliani on his staff and Chris Christie and God knows, like
Richard Haas.
Gingrich is probably going to be in there. Yeah, Richard Haas.
Yeah.
Who knows how many other more neocons or whatever in there. Will they call him out?
Yeah, but they call him out on going to bed with the goblins, on kissing goblins.
Yeah. Yeah, you're kissing goblins.
On ingratiating goblins.
Yeah, he's got to ingratiate those goblins.
Yeah. We'll put that video up for people who don't know what the joke is there. Yeah.
I bet some people have seen that already.
Yeah, it's hilarious. That guy's genius. Yeah. But I don't know. I wonder, is it possible? Is it even possible for Alex Jones and all the alt-right, high profile media, platforms, which have been getting more and more high profile with a higher production value, with more marketing, with more branding, with all the good stuff that gets you mainstream in the lead up to the Trump victory? Are they now positioning themselves? Have they been positioning themselves to be the vanguard of the new conservative, the new neocon post-neocon. I don't know.
When you analyze what they say, they sure seem to say that you got Paul Joseph Watson constantly saying, "I'm going to depose you, you mainstream media, whatever you are, and I'm dedicating my life to taking you down." And Alex Jones, like, the dinosaur media is being replaced. So that's the language they use. So they say that they're doing it. And they're saying this out of jealousy too, because they're jealous of the position that the mainstream media had, and they very much do envy it. They covet it. They want that.
Well, this is the psychology of journalists, isn't it? Though they all want to get one up on the competition. So they've been positioning themselves well, though. Again, branding. I mean, they've been doing anything to get attention. Paul Joseph Watson just makes videos on the most outrageous thing he can possibly find. You just pick anything, name it.
The most current, silly, and even he just pulls these things from like popular culture that he claims to be fighting against, but he just appropriates them, and he claims that he's like calling them out or making fun of them or whatever. He just appropriates the same stuff to get attention for himself. So, it's completely shameless.
It is shameless. And what it is, again, it's branding and it's pop culture. This is the big trend that we've seen in the alt media, especially the alt-right media, is the creation and the promotion of a new pop cultural narrative. We touched on this again. I think did we touch on this in the last one? I think we did. But, I was just talking about how... it's a mix now. It's a blend. It's a hybrid. It's a cocktail. It's comedy. It's entertainment. It's provocateuring. It's trolling. It's branding. It's marketing. It's products. It's popular narrative. It's populism. It's pop culture. It's music and art and all of these things. And so they have been positioning themselves and growing themselves into something that is going to be much more palatable and marketable and appealing to a much bigger audience in the lead up to the Trump victory. So now that Trump has won, are they now going to take over that role? And it would seem to be the case.
Yeah, again, it's just jealousy, and they're totally hypocritical because they're doing the exact same stuff that the mainstream media and also the same stuff that the left that they hate, that they complain about so much. They do the same stuff they do, just flip double standard, total hypocrisy. They don't care. And I don't think they even see this either. They're just blind to this because they're what's the word I'm searching for here? They've got pride, vanity, and hubris. And they're just they're duping themselves. But I just wonder, it's impossible to say really at this point what a Trump administration is going to be. I can't begin to really predict that, other than I do believe his cabinet is going to get filled up with probably a majority of very serious establishment people. I think that's almost a given. But what happens from there and what they actually do, that's the question. And the big question again here for me is, will the alternative media just become the new mainstream media and just go about cheerleading no matter what the Trump administration does, or will they hold his feet to the fire and call him out for just being another establishment? Yeah, exactly. Just same as the old. Yeah.
I don't know. Nobody knows. But this gets into the kind of little theory that I touched on before, and that is what we've seen here with the whole, the way that the election unfolded and all the kind of reverse psychology that was used to get Trump in, or that appears to have been used to get Trump in, is this part of something bigger, somebody on high wanting Trump in there, and tweaking things and nudging things and encouraging and, sort of fostering certain things to make sure that happened. And is this designed to absorb all of the anti-establishment sentiment in the world and in the media and in the internet and lead it down the primrose path of destruction? I mean, is this in fact the worst possible outcome? I mean, that's possible. Did we go look at that? I mean, we both said before that, we're reasonably, despite all the craziness, reasonably optimistic about this. I mean, this is is it better than Hillary getting in?
Yeah.
I mean,
I think that. I do think so.
I think that I will admit that I'm reasonably excited and happy about this.
Me too. Yeah, I am. Yeah.
But
I'll say that.
Yeah, I'll say that. We will say that. But is it in fact the worst possible scenario imaginable? Is this the final co-opting of what was once the truth movement into this mainstream nonsense that just gets led down the primrose path towards destruction? Is that what's happening here?
Yeah.
We got to ask that question.
Absolutely. Yeah, and do we want to maybe speculate as to Trump's role in all this anymore? Do we want to talk about Trump himself? Because, I mean, I guess I'll just say quickly that if he's being, well, I'll say this, is that the mainstream media propped him up for sure throughout the campaign. He would have never made it through the early days of the primaries and made it to the Republican nominee without the help of the liberal media, as it were. Yeah. They were promoting him every chance they got. And bare minimum, the reason was for them to get attention to their network because there's a flashy, bombastic story that everybody would look at.
Yeah.
So bare minimum, they were doing that. Again, if you go a little further and things get more nefarious, maybe they were doing this because they wanted Donald Trump in there to be the guy.
Yeah. I think, well, part of me thinks that this is exactly what's happened because the media has had an absolute field day on Donald Trump, especially the left-wing Democratic media, especially them. You know, they've probably had to hire more journalists just to write stories about what a bigot and a pig he is. You know what I mean? So they're all doing really well over at the New York Times. You know, and so this would stand to reason. I mean, again. Was this all reverse psychology? You know, whilst the Democratic establishment was trying to get in, whilst the Democratic media was having a field day, was this all an inevitable conclusion that because they put so much attention on this, on I don't know, slandering this guy and playing him off as a racist and a bigot and the worst thing to ever happen to American politics, blah, 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 did they in fact, you know, did this in fact result in some kind of like a reverse psychology effect where people were sort of.
I want to know what the real truth is behind this question, because you had those DNC leaks come out where they said that they wanted the outsider candidate to run against Hillary or you know, their candidate, which was Hillary, because they'd be able to presumably defeat them on like easy grounds just by dismissing their character flaws. I want to know is, you know, was Trump promoted by the media in hopes that, yes, he would be easily taken out according to this plan? Like, yeah, we can character assassinate him, he'll lose. Or did they promote him and did things get out of their hands? Like, yeah, we promoted him, but now, oh, no, he's actually going to win. There's nothing we can do about it. Oh, we overstepped ourselves. Or is that the case? Or is it that they wanted him to go all the way even, and they were kind of like pulling Hillary's chain all the time, and they were like, yeah, don't worry, Hillary, you're gonna get in there, you're gonna get in there. Look, the whole Democratic Party says we can take him out easy. Joke's on you in the end. It's
hard to say. I think you've probably got a mix of things going on. I think perhaps, you know, my tendency in scenarios like this would be to say that on the higher levels and more senior levels of the establishment, you've got people who know what's going on. They can see how the dialectic is being played out. They know that this is a big chess game and that what appears to be the landscape right now is not necessarily going to be the landscape tomorrow, because if this move will result in a counter move, which will result in another counter move, and blah, blah, blah. But I think on the lower levels, and perhaps with somebody like Hillary herself and her immediate aides and campaign staff and all that, probably, you know, genuinely wanted her to win and thought this was all going well because they had the media in the bag, they had the narrative in the bag. It was all, you know, it was all inevitable. It was a foregone conclusion. But again, perhaps people on high, you know, more senior people who are master geopoliticians were looking at this and saying, this is a managed dialectic.
Yeah, and they were the ones that were playing the trump card.
Playing the trump card, exactly.
It wasn't Trump himself. They were using him as as the card player plays cards. That's what they're using these political candidates as cards. Mm-hmm.
The whole back and forth, again, this is just my gut feeling on this, but the whole back and forth with the way everything unfolded, with all of the reverse psychology, with the move, the counter move, the last minute FBI announcements, with the last minute spirit cooking revelations, with Wikileaks suddenly going against the Clintons when they've traditionally been a bit more left leaning, and it all looks like a managed stage show to me. It's too perfect.
We need time to get any semblance of truth of an answer on these kinds of questions. But these are the kind of questions that we have to ask and remember and keep pursuing, because I think in time we might actually be able to get answers to these sorts of questions.
I think more is becoming more and more obvious and more apparent by the hour and by the day. And I think within a few weeks, I think things will be much more clear than they are right now. But it is very difficult, as you say, because this whole, this is the whole election process is almost like a psychological operation in a way. It's the amount of intention and energy and emotion that can evoke and draw into itself is just incredible. I mean, me and you are people who generally, sorry, I'm not getting all the sleep, generally try to disconnect a bit more and to sort of stand back from this and to not sort of buy in and not get too emotionally involved in these narratives. But at the same time, it does drag us in. It's so intense.
I got dragged in on this one more than anything I can remember, actually. I mean, and getting involved in the emotional side of things and just the pure stupidity and hypocrisy, particularly of the alt-right, was really getting to me throughout all of this. And I'll be totally honest, it was angering me.
Yeah.
But and the odd thing is, as we were saying before, I'm actually happy that their guy is in because now, they have the chance to prove themselves. So let's see it, guys. Let's see what your guy can do now. You're president. We'll find out, won't we?
Well, we're going to find out one way or the other where the alt-right actually stands, where they have stood, where they want to go, and who among them are legitimate. Because there is a spectrum out there, and this is the thing that I always try and make a point of, is that I don't think it's fair to just pigeonhole them all as a bunch of nasty racists who are full of hate, because it's not like that. There is a spectrum, and there are plenty of people who kind of dip their toes in and out of it, myself included, who don't necessarily agree with all the racist stuff, but who can see other points that are, valid and stuff like that. But, I think it will sort the wheat from the chaff, so to speak, if we can use that expression. So it will be interesting. And I think, again, whether they take up whether they become the platform of mainstream conservative culture, we'll tell that. I think this will let us know as to where this whole thing is going, and it will give us a clearer picture as to how it's got there in the first place. So.
Yeah. Should we even bother tackling the subject of like celebrity culture and how this reality TV show Celebrity became the president of the United States and what that says?
I will just, we can touch on that. I mean, I will just quickly say that in keeping with my sort of previous theory about the idea of Donald Trump being picked and groomed and put in there by somebody, the whole idea of him being a celebrity TV star, this all started, about 10 years ago, The Apprentice? Is that right? Maybe 15 years ago?
Yeah, probably. That show was about that long ago. Yeah,
that's my memory anyway. Was this part of it? Was this part of introducing Donald Trump to the world, making sure that he was a household name? Because if he hadn't been on The Apprentice, nobody would know who the hell he is, and he never would have got in. He wouldn't have that persona, that character, that, archetype that people are familiar with. And so is that part of it? Was this all, again, like, we have Ronald Reagan, beating Jimmy Carter back in the, 82? Was it 80? I can't remember.
It was, early. It was either 80 or 82, I think. I can't remember. Yeah.
And, 82, I think. And so would he have ever gotten in if he hadn't been a household name and a household face? Absolutely not. Mm-hmm. So is that what's happened here?
Yeah, it's just taking trends that were already there because, again, Ronald Reagan, the actor, becoming president, this happened a while ago. This is something that's been set up, but setting the bar a little higher, and that, reality TV isn't high up on the level of if you're talking about entertainment media, it's not that prestigious. It's very low on the level of prestige when it comes to entertainment media. With the gold standard being film. And Academy Award winning films. That's the gold standard. You've got reality TV way below that. So you got a reality TV star as the winner, and the way in which he won is he just like firing off like these silly jokes, making fun of the other candidates, just saying the most ridiculous and sometimes really terrible things.
Audacious
to say,
I think.
Yeah, audacious. Yeah, he's saying all this crazy stuff, and that's what got him in there.
Yeah.
So that's setting a pretty odd standard for American political races for the future.
Yeah, again, I think we talked about this last time. I think this has probably changed the standard of what a political race is going to be in the future. The bar was lowered so much in this last race between Clinton and Trump that one wonders whether it'll ever go back up again. I kind of speculated that within a couple of terms, maybe 3 terms, we might see other more pronounced more famous celebrities, going into these kind of battles.
Yeah, you know what? In that vein, Adam, I did a tweet that you can appreciate just before doing the show, where there's a story about Brad Pitt has been cleared of his allegations.
I saw that.
Perfect. Now he can run 2020 against Trump.
Well, this is what I'm thinking. So we got George Clooney with Brad Pitt as his VP, and then you got Alex Jones with Ted Nugent as his VP. That'll be the 2024 election. George Clooney versus Alex Jones with Brad Pitt and Ted Nugent as vices, and they'll go into a gladiatorial arena and do a wrestling match to see who gets the see who becomes president. Yeah,
and a reality TV show will be made out of the whole process, of course.
Yeah, it'll be Alex Jones.
Get to enjoy it.
It'll be Alex Jones's training camp. It'll be like it'll be shadow boxing and running up steps.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's funny, but this is the way things are going. So we got Donald Trump as president. The proof is in the pudding. He did it. Even if somebody, propped him up, or God knows what was happening behind the scenes. We don't know. But the fact of the matter is he did it, and he did it the way that we saw. In the eyes of the people, the crazy guy did it. You know what I mean? Just by being wild, being an outsider, being anti-establishment, apparently he did it. He got in there. And that's what the people wanted. That's what they got.
Yeah. And just to boil it down to something really, again, the simple macro social take on this is that he did it because the majority of people were so sick of the status quo that they would rather have him, And obviously, he had plenty of hardcore supporters who really believed in in Trump and his policies and whatnot. But there was obviously, quite apparently, a lot of other voters who were just like, you know what, I've had a hard day at work. I've got to go and vote now. I'm sick of this grind. Yes. I'll take anything but Hillary and the same old.
Yes.
And that says something. So we are looking at something of a milestone here. I would guess that it's going to be something good or something very, very bad. So it'll be one or the other. I think it's safe to say that we're not going to be looking at business as usual here, and that's important. that's relevant. Things are going to change from now on. Yeah. And again, they'll change for the better or they'll change for the worse, but they're going to change. So that's interesting and that's relevant, and we should be happy that something interesting is happening. That things are going to be changing. At least we're going to know where we stand.
Yeah.
At least we'll know where we stand.
We'll have plenty to talk about.
Yeah,
plenty to talk about.
And I'm sure we will continue to touch on this subject in future podcasts.
We'll be back. But maybe the next show we do will actually be another movie review.
Yeah, how about that? We should probably get back to our bread and butter.
Yeah. I love these special shows, though. I want to say that. I love doing these. I think the audience likes them, too.
Yeah, I enjoy them, too, because, I mean, they're messy because just to give people an inside track on how these things work, I mean, it's completely unscripted. We organized this show about 40 minutes before it happened, you know?
Yeah.
So it was literally just like stop what you're doing and record a podcast and say what you think at that time. So it's kind of a bit, you know.
I enjoy just the conversational format where, you know, it's you and I having a conversation about stuff that interests us, important world events. And these are the kind of conversations you don't always get to have. So just on that level, I love doing it.
Yeah, it's fun.
I love that format.
It's good fun. And the conversation can go off in different directions and different tangents. It doesn't have to be planned because a lot of the time if you're writing down a whole list of talking points and things you want to cover, it can end up being a little bit stale. I think. I mean, I know that's my experience with myself anyway. But it keeps it fresh and interesting when it's all ad lib. You know, we're just making it up as we go along and going where it's going to go. And I enjoy it, and I hope the audience enjoys it too.
Yeah. But check out the podcast. Our website is tmpodcast.com. You can subscribe to us on many different podcast apps: iTunes, Stitcher Radio, TuneIn Radio, Google Play. We're probably on some others that, you know, iTunes feeds to. Find us there. We have our Twitter and we have our YouTube pages. Be sure to subscribe to those so we can catch up to these alt-right pundits and start a alternative media empire of our own. Otherwise, how are we going to get our presidential candidate in next time around?
Yeah, I know. I mean, we've got to start building now. We've got to start the info war now in order to get a guy in 2020 or 2024 or what have you. The grassroots funded operation here, folks. I'm going to be selling. I think I'm going to have to start selling magic dick pills to get some money. Otherwise, we're never going to get anywhere.
Yeah, those apparently sell. Those work according to the advertisements I see on the other shows that we mentioned on this show today. So,
what was the one that they were all on the InfoWars? What was it called again? Something brain.
Oh, I don't know what the brain one is, but I remember that super male virility something or other thing.
They kept on.
That's one of them.
That's another thing. I just quickly noticed that they were all raving on about. It's like some kind of nootropics thing, like those cognitive enhancers that's made of special herbs or something, and it makes you. It's like a caffeine hit without the side effects or something, and they were just all going on and on and on and on about it. And everybody in InfoWars studio was literally dropping that product name about every 5 minutes. It's pretty shameless.
Yeah. The whole thing with this election was they're using it shamelessly to sell all their products. I mean, clearly they took all the breaks to do that, but that's a whole other issue.
That's a whole other issue, true. Yeah.
That's a whole other issue. We'll just thank our audience for being there and hanging with us. So thank you very much, everybody.
Yeah, it's been great, and we shall be back very, very shortly with probably another movie review. But we will return to this subject as it unfolds. So stay tuned. See you next time, Aaron.
Yep, we'll see you there. Today's episode was recorded on the 9th of November, 2016.